I'm sliding this small, ready-to-use enclosed bait station beside the wall where ants have been appearing deep behind a secured access panel where children and pets cannot reach it. We've had a few tiny visitors lately marching their way through the kitchen, and I want to show you something. See them? Within a minute, several ants have found the station through its ant-sized openings. They're already feeding, then disappearing back into the wall crack. That's the real work happening, though it might not look like much to the eye. Today, I'll show you how careful observation and patience, combined with a properly selected low-concentration liquid borate ant bait, can turn these ants' own foraging against them. This method helps control the nuisance right where it starts, at the colony, rather than just chasing them away for a while. The truth is, those quick sprays you might use only kill the ants you see right in front of you, and there are always more where they came from, hidden away in their nest. But a good low-concentration liquid bait like this one, placed in a secure station, lets the worker ants carry the sweet solution back to their hidden home. They share it with the other ants, even the queen, slowly weakening the whole colony over time. It's not an overnight fix, mind you, and it works best for common sugar-feeding ants, those small dark ones you often see in the kitchen. This approach won't work for every single ant problem you might encounter, and finding the right secure spot for the bait is paramount to keep children and household pets safe. But if you're tired of seeing these lines of little workers, always returning, always a fresh batch appearing, then this approach offers a different path. You'll learn which specific ants this method best suits, the most important mistake to avoid when using this kind of bait, and how to tell if you're truly making a difference deep inside their hidden home. I remember when I was a boy, maybe 6 or 7 years old, back in the late 1940s. Our summer kitchen, which stayed cooler in the heat, had a small pantry where Mother, Sarah, kept our preserves and honey. She was always particular about keeping it tidy, but those tiny black ants, they always found a way in. I can still recall the sticky feel of spilled jam on a shelf and the almost invisible lines of ants, like fine, dark threads, disappearing into a crack in the old stone wall. Sarah would shake her head, but she didn't reach for a harsh spray. Instead, she'd take a little saucer, she'd put something sweet in it, sometimes just a dollop of syrup, and set it by their path, but away from our precious food. She wasn't trying to kill every ant on the spot. She understood they were going back somewhere, and if you could make that place less hospitable, the problem would eventually lessen. Now, her method back then was perhaps more about redirection, a gentle coaxing away from our pantry, but the core principle she observed holds true today. What she sensed intuitively, we now understand with the certainty of modern science. Research confirms that ants are indeed very social creatures. When worker ants find a desirable food source, like the sweet liquid bait we're discussing, they don't just consume it for themselves. They gather what they can and diligently carry it back to their nest. This isn't just a quaint notion. It's a biological process called trophallaxis, where ants share liquid food mouth to mouth with their nestmates, with the growing larvae, and most importantly, with the queen herself. This communal sharing is precisely what allows a slow-acting substance, such as the low concentration of borate in these ready-to-use baits, to spread throughout the entire colony. It ensures the effect reaches beyond just the few ants you see, getting to the heart of the problem, the queen, who is vital for all reproduction and the colony's long-term survival. So, with the ants diligently sharing their liquid food through the colony, How does a borate bait work its way through a whole nest? Borax, which is a naturally occurring mineral, contains compounds that, once ingested by an ant, begin to disrupt its digestive system and metabolism. It works slowly, preventing the ant from absorbing nutrients properly, leading to a gradual weakening and eventual death. The true cleverness and the strength of this method lies precisely in that slow action. If the bait killed too quickly, the worker ant wouldn't make it back to the nest to share the poison with its nest mates and the queen. It's a delicate balance, and a gentle poison wins. This method of baiting is especially well suited for what many folks call sugar ants. This isn't one single species, but a common way to talk about various small ants that are strongly attracted to sweet foods. These include kinds like Argentine ants, odorous house ants, which, if you crush them, can smell a bit like rotten coconuts, pavement ants, and pharaoh ants. These are often the tiny black or brown ants you see trailing across your kitchen counters or floors. If your ant problem involves large black ants like carpenter ants, this kind of sweet bait can still attract them, but if you suspect they're damaging the wood in your home, a professional inspection is truly the wisest course. However, this sugar-based bait won't be the best fit for every ant you might encounter. Some ants, often known as grease ants, prefer protein and fats over sweets. If you notice your ants are ignoring the sugar bait and are instead interested in spilled cooking oil, crumbs of meat, pet food, then this particular approach won't draw them in. For those, a different kind of bait, one formulated with a protein or fat base, would be needed to get their attention. So, what do you need to begin this patient process? The simplest and safest way to use this method is to select an EPA-registered, ready-to-use liquid borate ant bait that comes in a refillable or tamper-resistant station. You'll find these products at your hardware store or market. The University of California's Integrated Pest Management Program, for instance, has noted that liquid borate products containing about 0.5 to 1.0% active ingredient are often more effective for colony impact than stronger solutions. Look for products that clearly state they are for sugar ants and are designed for slow action. Now, once you've chosen a good, ready-to-use liquid borate bait, simply follow its label directions. This is crucial because products are carefully balanced. A sweet attraction with the exact low borate concentration needed. This ensures ants find it tasty enough, and it works slowly enough to carry back and share with the entire colony, even the queen. Never adjust the bait's strength or dilute it. That can make it ineffective or dangerous. The label is your best guide for success and safety. Most baits come in small, tamper-resistant stations. Designed with tiny openings for ants, they keep curious fingers and noses out. Still, secure placement is paramount. Always place stations where children, pets, or other non-target animals cannot reach them. Think inside locked cabinets, deep under heavy appliances, behind secured access panels, or high on shelves in a closed pantry. Intercept ants where they forage without risking accidental exposure. Never place bait stations directly on food preparation surfaces or in easily accessible areas. When placing the bait, observe the ants. They'll likely follow established trails. Placing a station directly along one of these trails, or near where they enter your home, helps them find it quickly. You might see ants appear around the station within minutes, as we observed earlier. That's a good sign. They'll feed, then begin their journey back to the nest, carrying their sweet poisoned meal with them. patience is key. The biggest mistake after setting out bait is to spray visible ants with insect killer. It's a natural reaction, I know, but contact sprays kill workers too quickly. Also, they leave a repellent residue. This residue makes ants avoid the area, disrupting their foraging for the bait. You might kill some, but you'll break communication back to the colony, and the queen will just keep laying more eggs. Another helpful step is to remove any competing food sources. Ants are resourceful. If there are crumbs, spills, or open sugar containers, they'll be less likely to focus on your bait. Keep your kitchen clean, wipe up spills promptly, and store food in airtight containers. This makes your bait station the most attractive option, encouraging them to take it back to their nest. You'll need to check the bait stations over time. Liquid bait can dry out or become dirty. The product label will tell you how to refill, or more commonly, how to replace the entire station. Never try to add plain water to a used bait station. That will change the concentration and likely make it ineffective. Follow the label for refilling or replacing. Consistent replenishment ensures a steady supply of fresh, correctly concentrated bait for the ants to carry home. Remember, this is not a fast process. You are working to eliminate an entire colony, and that takes time. You are disrupting their whole way of life, not just swatting away visible messengers. Expect to see ants around the bait for several days, perhaps even more than you saw before, as the word spreads about a new food source. That is part of the process, and it means the bait is doing its job. While seeing those worker ants busily carry away the bait is indeed a good sign, signaling that the process has begun. It's important to understand this method's full scope. This includes knowing its limits, recognizing when it's not working, and, most importantly, following strict safety precautions. As I mentioned, this liquid borate bait is very effective for sweet-loving ants. However, if you notice your ants are ignoring the sugar bait and heading straight for spilled cooking oil, crumbs of meat, or pet food, then this particular liquid sugar bait won't draw them in effectively. For those, you would need to seek out a different kind of commercially available ant bait, one specifically formulated with a protein or fat base to attract them. Also, if the bait in the station dries out too quickly, perhaps in very warm or dry parts of your home, the concentration can change and the bait becomes less effective or even too strong. When that happens, or if it becomes dirty, you must replace the entire bait station with a fresh one, following the product's label. Now, safety is a concern that cannot be overstated. The borate in these baits is a chemical and should always be handled with great care. It is toxic if ingested by humans or pets. Never place these bait stations where children, toddlers crawling on the floor, or household pets can reach them, even accidentally. This means using only the tamper-resistant stations and placing them in truly inaccessible spots, such as inside locked cabinets, deep under heavy appliances like a stove or refrigerator, behind secured access panels, or on high shelves in a closed pantry. If a child or pet does ingest any of the bait, you must consult a doctor or veterinarian immediately. Always have the product's ingredient list or label on hand to show them. Keep any unused bait stations in their original packaging, stored securely out of reach. When you first set out the bait, expect to see an increase in ant activity around the stations for the first day or two. This is actually a very good sign. It means the workers are finding the bait, telling others, and dutifully carrying it back to the colony. It's during this crucial time that you must resist the urge to spray any ants you see with contact killers. You want them to find and share this bait, not to be deterred or killed too quickly. You'll typically notice a significant reduction in visible ants within 3 to 5 days. Complete colony elimination, however, can take anywhere from 1 to 8 weeks, depending on the ant species and the size of the colony. This is not an overnight solution, but a patient and persistent one. If, after 2 to 3 weeks of consistent baiting, you see little to no change in the ant population, it might be a good time to consider professional pest control. This is especially true if you suspect you have multiple ant species, or a very large or difficult-to-locate colony that might be hiding deep within your home's structure. To truly see if your efforts are working, I recommend a simple test. Choose a small area where you've seen consistent ant activity and place your bait station. Before you start, take 5 minutes to count the ants you see foraging there. Just a quick tally. Record that number. Continue to monitor and refresh your bait as the product label instructs. After 1 week, repeat the count in the same spot, ideally around the same time of day. You should observe a noticeable decrease. Remember, outdoor conditions like recent heavy rains can sometimes drive more ants indoors, which can cause a temporary fluctuation, so don't be discouraged by a small change. This habit of understanding how pests behave and using that understanding to guide a patient measured response is a lesson I learned early in life. My mother, Sarah, didn't have fancy sprays, but she knew that you had to address the root of the trouble, not just the ants on the surface. It's a quiet satisfaction, knowing you've dealt with a persistent problem in a thoughtful way, restoring a bit of calm and order to your home. It's about being observant and working with the rhythms of creation, even when those rhythms include tiny, uninvited guests. If you've tried this liquid borate bait for your ant problem, I'd appreciate it if you shared your experience in the comments below. Tell us what kind of ants you think you had, how long it took to see results, and what your outcome was. Your experiences help others learn and adapt these old ways for their own homes. Next time, we'll talk about how to keep pantry moths from spoiling your stored grains and flowers. Until then, stay frugal, stay free.